good evening, and welcome one and all to the Rush this evening. My name is Randolph Critchlow. We want to say thank you very much to those persons joining us internationally in the region and right here in Guyana. As we continue to bring you credible and valid information, it is day 436. 436 of this fraudulent administration, and we want to let you know that the opposition is keeping them on their toes every single day as we keep our eyes on them, folks, as we keep our eyes on them. So many things to discuss this Tuesday evening as we bring to you information from around Guyana. Of course, today we are also going to be talking about what is happening over there in New York as the PPP anti-racism protest continues, as we have some of our installed ministers visiting the installed prime minister and two ministers visiting a church there in New York, and they have been greeted very pleasantly by our folks in the diaspora, led by Mr. Rickford Burke and his team over there. We're going to bring you some footage of that, of course. We're going to be also talking with the Shadow Minister of Legal Affairs and Attorney General, Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford, who is already backstage and waiting to explain to you, our public. We know that you're interested in what is happening in our judicial system, in our parliament, so we'll be breaking down that for you. We'll breaking that down for you. We'll unpacking all that happened in the courts with that case, that constitutional matter, and we'll be bringing that to you. We'll also be talking about Jagdeo's attack on Amanza Walton Dasir after she would have disrupted his attempt to paint this glossy picture and call him out on his pseudo campaign as some sort of champion of the art. And so we'll talk about that. And kind of unpack that also. But folks, we like to ensure that we start the right way. Let's unpack, folks. Let's unpack all that is happening. Again, welcome to those persons joining us from all over the world. Drop your comment there. Let us know which part of the world you're joining us from. We'll be back to unpack.
One time for the bass, alright. Back in the day we used to live Charlotte Street. Just learn to walk and speak. Me woulda grab a bucket, 2 stick of milk in and gone in the yard and beat. Miss Paul used to suck up she teeth. We didn't kick cause the music sweet. You could hear me little voice in Regent Street, but I'm still in the game. On the stage I'm keeping the flame. Used to jump with Leon and Shane. We used to make enough nights in the neighborhood. Get vexed and call over Dwayne. Tell them music run in me vein. Yesterday.
Right. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Those persons who are saying they're getting us loud and clear from all over the world. Welcome to the Rush. NY is in the Rush. If you're in New York and you're close to that protest, we want to encourage you to go out there. Let's just bring that up on the screen so you know what is happening over there in New York. Currently, that protest is happening as we speak. As we speak, folks, we're bringing you images from that out there as the folks over there in New York are giving the installed ministers and the installed vice president a warm New York greeting. Thank you very much, folks over there. Mellowbrook is in the house. Let me just shout out those persons who are joining us from New York, London. Good evening. Mackenzie, Linden, my hometown. Thank you very much for tuning in. Our friends from all over. Let me see if I can just read some of these comments. Watching from Port Kaituma. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in, Port Kaituma. Right? People are looking, folks, of course, that protest is happening, as you see there. That is what is happening there in New York. Right now, it's bright over there, of course. They have extra daylight. Don't worry about why it's so bright. It's live. It is live. Pamela said the Prime Minister should be ashamed. And as they said earlier in that protest, he can't go into some of the neighborhoods in Guyana here, but they sent him over there. New York is in the house. Brooklyn is watching. Antigua is present. Thank you very much. Marking the register this evening, folks. Marking the register as we start to talk about what's lined up. What does the traffic look like this evening in the Rush? What does the traffic look like? Toronto is in the house. St. Martin, all of you are in the Rush. It's the evening rush. It's no longer afternoon rush because we're on a little later now. It's the evening rush, and we want to say thank you very much to all those persons who continue to log in. Thank you very much, folks. Again, as I said, we'll be unpacking some legal information this evening. Golden Grove, East Coast, Demerara. Golden Grove is in the house. Antigua, Haslington, Herstellin, Madia, Mahaika, St. Martin, Toronto, Berbice. Let us know where you're joining us from, folks. And as you come through, share the live stream. Share the live stream. Let's listen. I think let's see if we can get some audio there from what is happening there at the protest in New York.
So at least we can allow them that one more. That's 11. But here, let me continue to have a breakdown police station. Yeah, breakdown. So I was
right. So we'll keep you updated on what's happening there with the protests. New York, good night. Pleasance is in the house, folks. Again, share the live stream as you come on. Share the live stream as you come on. We need to change our lower third. It says afternoon rush because we way past afternoon. We're coming on at 6:30. This evening time. Right. Ms. Thomas says that, we remember we have homework to share the live stream. That's your homework. That's all we require of you. Share the live stream. Mahaika is in the house. Share the live stream, folks. We're happy to have you here. Happy to always bring you credible and valid information as we're bringing you the live stream of what's happening there in the diaspora. In the diaspora, as people converge outside of that church to protest, to give the installed ministers and the installed vice president, prime minister. As we speak about the vice president, we'll of course talk a little later down in the program of what happened yesterday at the Authourtaian Conference Center. The two opposition MPs, Miss Hilly Sarabu and of course MP Walton Dasir, made it very clear what they thought about Jagdeo and his treatment of the environment. And that is something that we'll focus on as the days go by in the coming days. His sham that he is some champion of the earth, and the PPP's continued putting of profits before the environment. Right? They've claimed that they are protecting the environment and green economy, all these things, and they have consistently done and approved projects. Right? They've stripped away the powers of the EPA. They've stripped away the powers of the EPA. They have put in place persons who are incompetent to represent on behalf of Guyana in terms of our environment. And now, companies are walking all over us, and the environmental impact will be devastating if we do not take a grip of this. And hopefully at some point in time we'll have MP Amanza Walton Dasir on the show to talk about it as we continue to watch what is happening with our oil sector and all things environment. But of course, today we're going to be focusing on some legal matters. We're also going to be focusing on some legal matters as we talk today with the Shadow Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford. Folks, we're paying attention to so many things this afternoon, but we ask you, of course, to share the live stream. Right? Yes, looking at them. Hawkeye, you watching at them. Thank you very much. Folks, take your time right now. Before we bring our guests in and talk a little bit about what is happening in the legal world. Take a little time and share the live stream. Right? Dexter Thomas said, beat them down peacefully. Right? Peace be protected. Thank you very much, Dexter. Barbados in the house. Thank you very much. Share, folks, share. Good evening, good evening, good evening. As we share our broadcast on other platforms, we want to say thank you very much for tuning in. Let's give you a sense of what is happening over there in New York right now before we bring our guests in to have a conversation on these court matters.
They want you inside. And they bring us back the feeling to all every person that is best for love. When my life, my God can't be speak. Can I put a ear? Instead of that, they always sit aside and have a cheat. I'm not press the form. Make up what a sentence. What a black in our throats, and we bring us out the feelings to all the men. You have to make up a ready move. We keep men are red. All they want to see. The element can say no Rasta. Can't say I say no Babylon. Big man throws. Now they bring about the feeling to all the men. Let the man throws. Alright, there's a poster. There's a poster. There's a poster. There's a poster. There's a black card. Before you play that song, because that song has a lot of meaning.
Right, folks,
So
welcome back
to
the program.
We want the folks inside. We want the
let me just ensure that we get everything started here.
Not just us! Not just us! Not just us!
I'm shouting no justice, no peace. But folks, we're going to get into our program. We are going to invite the Shadow Minister of Legal Affairs, Mr. Roysdale Ford, Senior Counsel, to our program now as we discuss, and we'll come back to the protest that's happening there in New York as we speak. We'll come back to that. Let's turn our attention to what is happening locally. Let's turn our attention to what is happening locally, folks, as we see interesting developments in our courts. Let me just intro this and let you know exactly what we'll be talking about this evening as we welcome Mr. Ford in. All right. Government loses constitutional case. This is what we're going to be looking at right now. Government loses constitutional case. For those persons who are now joining us, we ask you, of course, to share the live stream. Share the live stream as we bring you the credible and valid information. Right? As the High Court finds a 2021 amendments to the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act unconstitutional, rules that constitutional agencies must not be included in Appropriations Act. So we are going to be talking about this. We're going to get into details because I am not the right person to unpack this for you. Fortunately, we have the right person to help us unpack this. And that, of course, is none other than Senior Counsel, Mr. Roysdale Ford, who we're going to welcome in right now. Senior Counsel, good evening. Good evening and welcome to the Rush.
Hi, good evening, Randy. Thank you for having me. Good evening to your listeners.
Thank you very much, Senior Counsel. We're happy that you're here to help our viewers unpack. So we see the headlines. We see the headline that says government loses constitutional case. And of course, we're talking here about that amendment, those amendments to the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, and that this inclusion of the constitutional agencies in the Appropriations Act. What does that really mean for the average Guyanese? And if you can give us some background in terms of how we got here to this court case.
Well, Randy, the background actually starts with the fact that despite the Constitution in 2001, in Article 222A, providing for the independence of the constitutional agencies, the PPP, in a classic manner, very characteristic of them, opposed to the independence of constitutional agencies and functioning agencies under the Constitution, or
Yeah.
general statutory agencies that would not have independence as far as they want them not to have, never implemented and give life to the provisions of Article 222A. In 2011, when APNU AFC won the majority of seats in the National Assembly and became the dominant party in the Assembly for that period of 2011 to 2015, there were at least 3 or 4 motions, which are all recorded in the National Assembly in the record, the Hansard, in which the APNU AFC attempted to move motions to give effect to Article 222A, to give effect to the constitutional agencies and important statutory bodies provided for in the Constitution being given that sort of independence over their own affairs.
Yeah.
It had gotten so far and had gotten so bad, I should say, Randy, that at one occasion the actual bill or motion was passed, but the then President Donald Ramatar refused to sign it. So this is a long-standing position of APNU AFC that the constitutional agencies must be given the necessary independence as provided and contemplated by the Constitution. So when APNU AFC won the 2015 elections, one of the very first bills that they passed within a matter of months was the Fiscal Management and Accountability Amendment Act of 2015.
Yes.
And this sought to actually, for the first time, give effect to this concept of independence and financial autonomy. Under this bill, the constitutional agencies were able to create their own budget or budget proposals, submit it to the National Assembly for all the members of the National Assembly, all the parliamentarians to see, to have it voted upon, to have it determined by the National Assembly in an open manner. Any reductions or cuts to the budget or the proposal would have been done in public, and then it would have been passed by the National Assembly and then conferred and given back to the independent and constitutional agencies to spend in the manner that they choose to. So it was a lump sum allocation, not a line item. The PPP, in one of their first acts after being installed in 2021, passed the 2021 Fiscal Amendment Act. The same act, but 2021. And what they sought to do was to reverse those areas that would have been in the 2015 legislation and to pass a law now that would have been inconsistent with the 2001 amendment of Article 222A of the Constitution. So, Randy, what basically happened now is that they reversed everything. They put in place a legislative scheme in the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act of 2021 that rendered the constitutional agencies to be treated simply as ordinary budget agencies, ordinary departments of government. So that was an important development that they did. And they also treated the agencies in a manner in which they now had to go and get approval for their budget proposals before it goes to the National Assembly from the concerned ministers. And then importantly, Randy, they also decided now that they will treat them in terms of the allocation methodology. They will treat them as ordinary agencies because under the Constitution, a constitutional agency has a direct charge on the consolidated fund. There's no reason for Parliament to pass any special legislation. Once it is approved, the money is automatically given to them. So that, I believe, Randy, would for the listeners and for yourself, would constitute the historical circumstances that led to this action that we filed. So when this bill came, in 2021, we debated the bill in the National Assembly and we pointed all these things out to them. But nevertheless, they were minded and prepared to use their majority, their fraudulent and installed majority, simply to pass the legislation. And that is why we had to pass this position. We had to take this position and we had to go to court. One of the interesting things, Randy, that emerged from the aftermath of the judgment, and I'll get into the judgment, one of the interesting things is that I saw Anil Nandalal making statements that he won the case.
Yeah.
It is a very preposterous suggestion, but very characteristic of him. This is the first time, probably in the Commonwealth or any time in the world, that an attorney general will go to court. The court will rule that legislation passed by his government, not just simply any previous government, legislation passed by his government, of which, as the attorney general, he led and would have led in the preparation and the presentation of legislation, which have been found to be unconstitutional, declares that he would have won. I see Charles Ramson putting it up that he would have won. They're so preoccupied with being dishonest, right, and winning in any way, that they would engage in this sort of activity, Randy.
Yeah, and for our viewers, our laymen and women viewers, or the lay people out there, essentially what they wanted was these constitutional agencies to basically come under the ministry and not have their own budget, so to speak, or they can't approve their own budget. If I'm following you correctly.
Yes, Randy. They can't approve their own budget. They can't spend as they wish because they'll now be controlled. They could only spend this amount for this and this for that. And we saw the problem, Randy, with the Police Service Commission. And that is one of the reasons why the Police Service Commission joined the action, because they were given directions and information from the Finance Treasury that basically that they can't spend money to retain a lawyer.
Wow. So
and that is the sort
of Mr. Ford, I say this because many have pointed out that this is the modus operandi of the PPP. They want to have control over every aspect of the bureaucracy, and so to speak. That you would say to constitutional agencies that you really don't have any time, because you have to send your budget now to the minister, so that the minister can approve how much you spending and what you spending it for, which just adds a whole lot of red tape and slows down everything. Outside of that, it takes away the transparency and the accountability, so to speak, of those agencies. And so you're saying to us that this ruling says that, look, what the PPP did in terms of putting those constitutional agencies under these ministers' control, the budgetary allocation, so to speak, is unconstitutional. So what next? How does this reverse that?
It completely, the decision of the court has completely reversed it. It's not just the budgetary allocation that would have been a problem, Randy. It would have been also the spending. Both would have been controlled.
Yeah.
So in terms of what this decision does, it really reverses one aspect of the dictatorial march that the PPP would have been on. It absolutely does that.
Definitely. And give some examples for our viewers out there. Some of these constitutional agencies. Give us some examples of those agencies that are affected by this ruling.
Well, Randy, it's very interesting. This is probably one of the cases, the first one in Guyana, in which the constitutional agencies instituted proceedings, court proceedings, against the state.
Interesting. Right? I find that, I don't think people understand the magnitude of such a thing. Agencies that are supposed to be attached to the government and essentially carrying out the work of the country are saying to the government, look, we will take you to court because you want to control our spending and our budget.
And Randy, in terms of the constitutional agencies who joined with our colleague, Mr. Mahi Paul, would have been the Police Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, and the Teaching Service Commission.
Yeah.
Now, because of the fact that we had to institute these proceedings against the Attorney General, we also joined the Minister of Finance. But I want you to hear now, Randy, the agencies, the entities, and the importance of them who would have been joined and sued as respondents: the Judicial Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, the Teaching Service Commission, the Public Service Appellate Tribunal, the Public Procurement Commission, the Office of the Ombudsman, the Ethnic Relations Commission, the Human Rights Commission, the Women and Gender Equality Commission, the Indigenous Peoples Commission, the Rights of the Child Commission, the Chamber of the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the Office of the Auditor General, the Supreme Court,
Wow.
Parliament Office, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and the Clerk of the National Assembly. You know, Randy, the very interesting thing too is that in the course of the presentation of arguments, written arguments before the judge, I believe that I must publicly commend the Judicial Service Commission and the Supreme Court, because of all the entities, 20 they were, who were respondents. It is very important and very commendable, and the public must know and have confidence that the Judicial Service Commission and the Supreme Court filed proceedings and presented a case in which they clearly said to the judge that what the government would have done would have been unconstitutional. Imagine the Supreme Court and the Judicial Service Commission in legal proceedings taking a position that the Attorney General is wrong, that the Minister of Finance is wrong, and that the government is wrong.
Yeah. This is you know, and I'm happy because I'm happy that our viewers are getting a full sense of the magnitude of this. And we understand when you control the spending and when you control the budget of an agency, you basically have that that agency by the scruff of the neck. And so this goes to the dictatorial approach of the PPP. And if I'm getting you correctly, my memory serves me right, you were saying that it was the APNU AFC that said, look, these agencies deserve their autonomy so that they can work independent of interference from the government, and would have put in place these measures that they can have autonomy over their budget and their spending. Am I correct?
You're actually correct. You're perfectly correct, Randy. But Randy, if you would permit me to use and adopt some of your language, I want to unpack the judgment. Right?
Go ahead.
Because a lot of people, and the Attorney General, I see on Demerara Waves and so on, very misleading articles. And a lot of people are wondering what exactly the judge said. Fortunately, today, the judge released his written decision. Yesterday, when the judgment was delivered, the reports I would have received that somehow, I don't know if it's an administrative error or what, or some issue, the media was not allowed at the time when the judgment was delivered, which I believe is something that the judiciary should pay careful attention to. And we see what would have happened. We saw the mischief, the exclusion of the judiciary, the exclusion of the media.
The media from the reading of the judgment.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's a few paragraphs I just want to point out, Randy, about a few of them.
Go ahead. Let's unpack. That's what we do here. Let our viewers know exactly what was said in the judgment. And
this is, I'm not going to read the entire judgment. I'm going to read the important parts that demonstrate what was the ruling and vindication of our position. At page 27.
Before you go, Senior Counsel, you're coming out of frame a little. If you can center up in the camera there. Yeah. Somewhere to your right. Somewhere to your right. Good.
So this is what Justice Hardinan said, Randy. And this is at page 27 of the judgment.
Yeah.
And I quote, to the extent, however, that there be a requirement for any approvals by sector ministers before transmission to the minister assigned the responsibility for finance in order to become a part of the process for the determination of Guyana's national budget, any such approvals will be violative of Articles 122A, 212G, and 222A of the Constitution, and it is so declared. So clearly we're hearing that the judge is saying what the PPP passed is unconstitutional, it is violated of the Constitution, and it has been knocked down.
Yes.
The judge also said, Randy, further, this court is of the view that Article 222A removes the Ministry of Finance and the executive generally from all decisions regarding the spending by the constitutional agencies of an approved budget. The entities are assured financial autonomy with respect to their spending. This court is of the further view, that by declaring such spending to be by way of direct charge on the consolidated fund, the article removes the necessity for compliance with the ordinary legislative scheme and other requirements with respect to government spending, and it is so declared. So we now have at least two declarations against the government. And
Yeah.
nevertheless, they're saying that they would have won. They would have won the case, right? Mahipal case would have been tossed out.
Yes, I heard that from the propaganda machine. But I am happy that you heard. Go ahead, continue.
The court said, John, that therefore, to the extent that Section 7 of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act of 2021 inserts the constitutional agencies into the schedule of its principal act, this would be violative of Article 218 and 222A, which assures the independence of those entities by providing them with expenditure.
Right.
Then the court rejected in the next paragraph the arguments of the Attorney General, the contention by the Attorney General in support of the 2021 amendments that Article 171(2) of the Constitution is helpful to the argument that the National Assembly will not permit a draw on public funds by a bill unless recommended by Cabinet as signified is noted. However, this court is of the view that Article 171(2) is not relevant. The court rejected his argument. It's not me saying this, Randy. And the very two last paragraphs that I would like to highlight capture the judge, summarize the conclusions. The judge said, to the extent that Section 7 of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act inserts the constitutional agencies into the schedule of the principal act, it is violative of the letter and spirit of Article 222A and the third schedule of the Constitution, and a declaration is made in this regard. Additionally, to the extent that Budget 2021 was prepared, approved, and disbursed to the constitutional agencies, further to the mechanism set out under the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, as amended by Act Number 1 of 2021, the PPP Act, this court is of the view that the budgetary process of those agencies would have conflicted with Article 222A of the Constitution, and a declaration is made in this regard. So, Randy, I just captured there the summary, the essence of the decision of the court, which mirrors the essence of our arguments from the time this bill, the Fiscal Management and Accountability Bill of 2021, would have been tabled, all the way to which became an act, and we challenged it. So there's nothing in this judgment which would demonstrate that the PPP adopted of any sound approach in relation to this issue. And we await patiently, and the country must await patiently and vigilantly, because we want to see what will be their next steps.
Yeah. In terms, because this seems very definitive and clear, the judgment in terms of them, the ability to appeal this. Do you expect them to appeal this judgment?
I believe that they would be very wary of appealing the judgment, because I wish to let them know that if they appeal, there are a number of areas which we have not explored as yet. There's significant body of research we would have done, and we well prepared for that. And we will be probably minded to file a cross appeal. But I believe that they will want to come back to the National Assembly with another flawed piece of legislation, simply to pass it using their majority, be able to access the consolidated fund once again, and we will have to go court again. Because, Randy, I want you to understand that we did not linger or laze around. When this bill was passed, a few weeks, I think less than 2 weeks, we filed the court matter.
Yeah.
But we have come almost to October, the middle of October, and we now had a decision given. So the government was able to raid the Treasury in breach of the Constitution, in breach of the legislation. So we have to be very wary of what they will be coming to do next.
Yeah. And just for viewers' sake again, because, I want people to understand clearly what has played out here in Parliament. So the APNU would have put things in place so that these constitutional agencies will have autonomy, independence, and as the thing says, fiscal management and accountability. Now, these agencies have control over their spending and their budget. The PPP came in. This fraudulent administration came in and decided, you know what, we are going to bring a piece of legislation that will give us the power over these budgets and these spending. And you got the AP and UFC, of course, you guys took them to court. The court says, look, what they did was unconstitutional. These agencies have to have their autonomy, have to have control over their spending, and it's against the letter and the spirit of the Constitution for you as the government to sort of commandeer the spending and the in your dictatorial march, as you said, to commandeer the spending and the budget of these agencies. It doesn't speak well for a democracy to have those agencies have to send their budget to the ministers. These are agencies, like you said, 20 of them, whose work directly impacts and affects the government. So it's a conflict of interest to have the government have them by the scruff of the neck. And so I really hope that our viewers understand that this is such a travesty. This is such a railroading of transparency and accountability and democracy. And so I hope that I'm putting this in the right context.
Randy, you're putting it in the right context, but the Guyanese people, the people who love Guyana dearly,
yes,
also have to observe what is happening in the country. Throughout the period that this action would have been filed, you have never heard a single word of condemnation by the persons who profess themselves to be the guardians of democracy. We never heard our association saying anything, but they would jump up selectively from time to time. You never heard the private sector commission and the respective regional chambers of commerce throughout the country saying anything about these egregious breaches of the Constitution. But Randy, I want to turn my attention and responsibility for this piece of legislation and place the fact of this embarrassment, because it is an embarrassment.
It is.
It's an embarrassment of the installed government, that the judiciary had to be joined to legislation, to act on action, to reject legislation that affects its operation. It is only one person, Randy, who must take responsibility for this, and this is Anil Nandala.
The Attorney General, the installed Attorney General, brings a piece of constitutional legislation.
It demonstrates that you are completely incompetent, incompetent to advise your government on to do something so outlandish and ridiculous. To do something so outlandish and ridiculous, and then to say that you won. He should resign. That is what he should do.
Indeed. And I like how you put it. This piece of legislation that was brought, that was proven to be unconstitutional, was prepared by the same Attorney General. It had to be prepared. He is the chief legal officer for the government. He would have had to bring this, inspect the legality and the constitutionality of it first before bringing it to Parliament. And kudos to you guys in opposition for spotting this and taking it to court. And it's unfathomable that you would have the Attorney General presiding over this flawed piece of legislation and then going to argue it in the court.
Argue it, lost, and then say that you would have won.
Argue it, lose the case, and then come to the media and say that you won. It is unfathomable.
But these are very, very important developments. The fact that we were able to push them back, we were able to win this matter, we were able to win this issue. It is a victory not just for APNU AFC, it is a victory for the people of Guyana. This is a victory for the people of Guyana in every region, irrespective of race and class. And Randy, you could imagine what would have been the consequences of our failure to take this matter to court.
Yeah, I can imagine. That is a, as we say, a complete railroading of the the safeguards of democracy. And I think people will get to understand the importance of what played out and the importance of winning such a case, because now you have put that check back in place. Those constitutional agencies now will have their autonomy. They will be able to, for example, the Police Service Commission. We have the government right now in court with a case with the Police Service Commission, and to think that the government has control essentially of everything that in terms of budget and spending for the Police Service Commission. Think about what that means for as the people. There is the term conflict of interest. How is it that they can use that budget and that spending power that they have over that agency to influence them? And I think people will understand slowly how important this case is.
Randy, one of the other issues that we should remind the public is that when the installed president and his installed government through Nandalal sought to move against the Police Service Commission, the chairman and the members of that commission, to remove them from office, one of the reasons listed in the communication from Mark Phillips to the commissioners was the fact that they joined in an action to challenge legislation. They joined with an opposition member of parliament, Ganesh Mahipal, represented by Roysdale Ford, senior counsel, and a number of other persons who they claim to support the opposition. That was one of the main grounds for removing them. And I believe that the judiciary has sent a clear message. It can't be missed. It's not ambiguous. A clear message that the legislation was unconstitutional, the action was meritorious, and consequently, it must necessarily follow that the position adopted by the Police Service Commission and the chairman of the Police Service Commission was meritorious and proper.
Yeah. And we're happy that you're bringing this to our viewers and unpacking what this means for our country. As we wrap up on this, Senior Counsel, we want to look forward. As you know, we broached the topic just now, or what does this mean going forward in terms of those budget? We already had one or two budget cycles, or 1.5 or 2 budgets were presented. And what does it mean now as we look forward, of course, to next year and the other budget cycles in terms of the repercussions that will flow from this decision?
Well, Randy, as I said earlier, the ball is now in the government's court. Their measures have been rejected by the court. They now have to go back to the drawing table. They must now come with legislation that conforms with the Constitution. And I want them to know that I'm waiting. My pen is here, and we're waiting. If they step out of line, we're ready for them.
Sorry. Yeah, we look forward to that. And of course, we're thankful and appreciative of your efforts to ensure that democracy is kept in check. And we keep, these checks and balances on this installed government that seems to want to hold everything. And as I wrap up here, I'm reminded of what has been playing out at the local government level. RDC 4 was recently in the news, where the REO would have unilaterally decided that, he is going to figure out the budget for the council without the input of the councillors, without the input of the chairman, who were on the ground getting information from the people, seeking, sorting out which projects need to be in this budget. And we had the REO, who is acting, in my regard, on the behest of the Minister of Local Government, to commandeer, I use the word again, to take control over the region's budget when that's supposed to be the budgets of the people. And so we see this happening around the country, even at the local government level. So it is no surprise that they came with that legislation to Parliament. But I'm happy again, and I thank you for your work, and along with the other persons, the other MPs who have been pushing to ensure that the gains made under the AP and UAFC are not reversed by this wicked and fraudulent administration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP, for coming to unpack. Folks, we were talking there with MP Roysdale Ford, Senior Counsel. Of course, he is the Shadow Minister of Legal Affairs and Shadow Attorney General. We want to say thank you very much, as we hope that you got a better idea of what that court case, the ramifications of the actions of the PPP, and what this court case, them losing, let me say it, losing this court case, this court battle, means for democracy in this country. And I want to point that out. I want to point it out, to put in context for you, to have the government basically say to every one of these constitutional agencies, these are not dolly house agencies or that are just spring up, okay, we have this commission there, that commission. These things are constitutionally mandated. 20 of them, including Judicial Service Commission, Police Service Commission, Teaching Service Commission. You are saying to the Guyanese people, look, we want to have control over all of them. We are going to hold them by the scruff of the neck. We are going to control the budget and the spending. That is essentially what the legislation brought by the PPP would have done or did. So this court ruling essentially reverses that, and we thank you, MP, for clarifying that and unpacking that. That's what we do on the program, folks. We bring the information to you in a way that you can understand it, right? Give you the credible and valid information. Folks, we're still keeping our eyes on what is happening there over in Brooklyn. Let's bring you some more. Let's bring you some more of that. What is happening over there in Brooklyn, folks, as we will open the phone lines to you in just a bit. We normally give you an opportunity to have your say, and we want to do that this evening. We have about 50 more minutes on the program, but we want to ensure that we hear from you this evening. We are going to be talking tomorrow about the environment. Tomorrow's Environment Day, folks. We saw the issues at the conference center there with Jagdeo versus Walton Dasir. And he was quite upset. He went on critic this evening to rant and call Miss Walton Dasir a low life. Imagine the vice president of this country is referring to people as low life. But we're going to talk about him and talk about his attack on Amanza, because he can't attack her on substance. He can't rebut on substance. So he's talking about who is low life and talking about who tried to steal elections instead of dealing with what she said. Calling him out on his sham, this environmental sham, when his government, at his behest, are allowing these companies to do whatever they want. But we're going to deal with that in more detail. Let's take a look at what's happening over there in Brooklyn right now. We see Mr. Burke on the...
Not just a week for God say you are one. We answering now. We answering you. When you threaten our people, we gonna have a war. I have to tell them the same thing in the rally when they threaten my family. And they like to complain. But right now, on this installed president's page, somebody said, cut Rickford Burke's head off. And let us have a war. Anyway, enough of a war. Yeah.
So where they are right now, folks, there is a meeting happening inside. It's a church.
Everybody start the drama. Run it up. Start the drama. Select. It's a party. No party music here. You ready?
Right, so they're outside of the church, folks, and they're protesting, of course, inside of the church. They installed Prime Minister, and a few installed ministers are there, and they're having some sort of session. We thank those persons who are joining us on the page. Mr. Ramatar, thank you very much for your viewership, sir. We're always happy for you to come and be a part of the programming. We welcome folks. Folks, I've taken a policy. I've taken a policy position not to block the trenches. I want to have them on our program because we want to convert them. We want them to hear the credible and valid information. So we're not going to be blocking them from now on. I don't mind. Y'all can deal with them in the comment section. We like that. Engage with them. Let them hear the truth. Speak to them. Use them out if you want. We're not going to block them. We want them to be here. Thank you very much, Mr. Ramatar, for contributing to the richness of our program this evening. We want to say thank you for being a part of the program. All of our usual supporters, even the trolls and the trenchies, thank you very much. Right. Right. Yes, we really have a special invitation all over. Sherrod, whatever program, we want y'all to come. Now, I had a conversation with a friend recently, and I was telling her that I normally block these people who are coming to troll. And she said, no, don't block them. Leave them. Imagine out of their busy evening, they're finding time to come on your program. That is commendable. That is so commendable. We're happy that whatever we're saying over on this side is interesting enough for you to come and share your views. We love it. Right? We invite more of the trenchies and the trolls to come through. Right? The fact that you would take time out of your evenings to come and sit in front of your computer and comment on our program, we appreciate it. We are happy that you're here. Hopefully when you're here, something that you hear will get through to you as making sense, as opposed to listening to nonsense. Thank you very much. Right. Great. We're happy. Well, you're in the right place if you're fighting. Mr. Ramatar says he's fighting for a beautiful country. Yes, well, you're in the right place. Continue to listen to the people who are actually fighting. Because we had folks, the guardians of democracy, who have they're probably guarding their bedroom right now. They're probably guarding their bedroom because we don't see them. Some people only know about democracy when it suits them. But when democracy is being railroaded, you don't hear them. When the government is trying to control the budget and the spending of agencies that are supposed to be independent, Police Service Commission, Judicial Service Commission, how do you want to control those agencies? How does that make any sense? How does that make any sense for accountability and transparency? I am sure that those persons like Mr. Ramatar, who's on the page, understands that is a conflict of interest. You can't be so blinded to say that the government should control the budget of all of those commissions. Police Service Commissions, you can't interfere with the Judicial Service Commission. That is political interference to control the budget and the spending of these agencies. And I'm sure that even the trenchies, even the trolls, can't stifle the conscience so badly. You haven't died from asphyxiation, suffocation, if you stifle your conscience that badly, to agree that the government of the day should have control over the spending and the budget over agencies like the Judicial Service Commission. Imagine that. Imagine that. Tell me if that is not senseless. Tell me if that is not senseless. Even the trenchies would agree. Because you know what the problem is? That there are elections every 5 years. And governments change. And when the shoe is on the other foot, it don't feel nice. I am sure that if the PPP was in opposition and the AP and UFC said, look, we are going to control the budget and the spending of all these agencies that are supposed to be independent and act independently, that they would have had a problem with that. So again, I'm happy. I'm very, very happy. Right? I am very, very happy that the trenches and the trolls are here, because even them would agree The wrong is wrong. Folks, let's continue, folks. Let's continue this evening. Let's open up the phone lines as usual. We want to give you an opportunity to have your say. Even the trenches calling, let's have a listen. I am not against having a good debate with somebody from the other side. If you feel to call it, as long as you're being respectful and we can have a civil conversation, call the number. Call the number. I am not against having a good debate, a good, clean debate. Issues. If you think there is something that I said that on the issue of it, on the merit of it, it's incorrect, right? Call in. Ramatar, call the phone, man. Let's have a conversation. That's what we do, civil conversations. Don't jump on live and call people low life. Let's debate the issues. Let us debate the issues. Right? And that's what I want. Right? That is what I want. So, folks, let's head right into that segment where we'll give you an opportunity to have your say this evening. Always, always, always willing to give you an opportunity to have your say. I think we're having some issues with our... Right, folks. 618-7321, 618-7321. Have your say this evening. Give us a call. Give us a call, folks, and have your say as we allow persons to call us this evening. Remind you that you can support the program. You can support the program in your little way that you do. We have a PayPal account, of course. You can also share information with us on WhatsApp. The same number you can call in on 618-7321 or email us at therushgy@gmail.com. Of course, we will keep your information confidential. Your identity will remain confidential. Share information with us. If you want to support the program, it's the same PayPal. The PayPal account is therushgy@gmail.com or MMG. You can send your contribution to MMG 618-7321 or 617-0244. Help us, to continue to bring you the credible and valid information. But right now, it's all about you folks, giving you an opportunity to have your say. The number is 618-7321, 618-7321. Give us a call. Let's debate the issues. As I said, even the trolls and the trenches, give us a call. If you're from the other side, if you have differing opinions, give us a call. Let's have a civil debate. Let's talk about the issues. If you disagree with me, if you disagree with the opposition, give us a call. I am not against it, folks. I am all for it. Give us a call. Right? Right. As we go through. Yeah, and let me say this. I don't mind Mr. Ramatar. Mr. Ramatar seems like someone who has a head on his shoulder, at least. Right? Right? Mr. Ramatar says he can't right now. He said low life is not in his vocabulary. And these are the kind of engagement that we like. I don't mind you, Mr. Ramatar. When you're ready, though, if you want, give us a call. Even if it's not today, you can give us a call. We have a call online. Caller, good evening. You're in the rush. Have your say.
Good evening, Mr. Crystal.
Good evening.
And good evening to all your viewers. I was waiting to see if somebody
on the other side will give us a call. Well, some may be afraid, right?
I was hoping that they would, but then I was actually expecting that they would, because they're always so bold, and tonight is not the first night. Every single episode that we have with you, with Duncan and so on, we're always there.
You know what it is? Many people are what we call keyboard warriors, keyboard warriors. Their fingers are very brave. They have very brave fingers, right?
Yes, I would like to hear. I would like to have a debate with any one of them as well. I would like to understand their point of view, and I would like to give myself an opportunity to teach. Because that's what I do, right? So I agree with you with what you said. In terms of don't delete them, keep them. Because deleting them would be like having a church and then saying that only people who are saved and who are Christians can go to the church. At the end of the day, the purpose of the church is to get people saved.
Yeah.
So invite them, encourage them even.
I actually don't mind civil conversation, civil debate. It adds to the richness of our conversations that we have about issues, and as long as we can stay on that track, we can stay away from the name calling, we can stay away from the personal issues, and we can debate issues, the political issues of the day on its merit. I don't mind. I really don't mind.
Precisely. But one point I want to make is, well, yes, one of the reasons could be that some persons are fearful of stepping out further than they are comfortable. They might be just comfortable in the comments, but the call is a different story.
Yeah.
But you have to also consider the fact that some of the things that they are saying, they don't even understand themselves. And they are just repeating verbatim whatever they would have been told by somebody else, what they would have been brainwashed into believing. So their mandate is not to listen and understand. Their mandate is to listen and respond. So I'm happy they're here. One of these days, they will stop listening to respond and listen to understand, and then we will have some change. So.
Well, thank you for your comments, caller. We always happy to engage people here on this platform, and maybe what we should do is one of our programs dedicated to ensuring that we have that debate, because a lot of times, let me say this, a lot of times we are caught in our own echo chambers, and it is interesting and it's also good and educational to have different opinions being ventilated on your platform. That gives an opportunity for persons to really weigh the merits of what you're saying, the validity of what you're saying, the accuracy of your arguments. A lot of times, we're shouting in our own echo chambers, and yes, we have a particular viewpoint. We don't support the PPP's positions and policies. A lot of them we don't support. That is not to say, and I have on this program many times agreed with some things that I see this administration doing. When people do good things, you say, yes, this is good, even if you have a way that you may improve on that good thing. But I'm saying to you, lively debate is necessary. That is why we have the National Assembly. That's why our parliamentary system is set up in such a way, though it is adversarial. It pits people against each other, but at the end of the day, competing ideas on how we should govern our country. That is what people want to hear. And of course, at the end of the day, when elections come around, people decide with their votes based on your positions and policies that you would have articulated, who they want to manage the affairs and the resources of the country. So on that note, folks, we'll just take a peek. We'll take a peek at what is happening there again in New York as the protest continues to go strong. Again, these are people who disagree with the positions and policies and ideologies of the PPP government, and they are making their disapproval known as the protest persons who would have attended that church there in New York City, right? And I'm getting another comment here from Mr. Ramatar, said agreed, but as a responsible journalist, you have to, where the comment gone? Right? You have the power to carry and teach civil debate. And this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. But do not get this mixed up. Let me just put the disclaimer out there, Mr. Ramata. I'm not a journalist, right? This is an opinion show. This is an opinion show. The views and opinions expressed here are mine. It's not even the APNU AFC's. These are my opinions. This is my opinion show. And so that responsibility, so to speak, that is placed on the shoulders of journalists, I do not have, right? I can look at an issue and I can call them the AG incompetent because that's my opinion, right? So let us not get confused about journalists and journalism. I've never claimed to be a journalist, and this is not a journalistic program. This is an opinion show, folks, right? Just to clear that up. I have my opinions, and I don't mind. I really don't mind debating, right? Debating and going back and forth on your opinions versus mine. So again, folks, it was lovely this evening. I think we've gone a little over our time. Again, we will continue our keen eyes. We will continue with keen eyes, right? We'll continue with our keen eyes, our hawk eye, to look at the things being implemented by this government. The things being implemented by this government, right? Right, he said, agreed, my bad, but it's a public platform that influences the public. Many persons have public platforms. Many persons have public platforms that influence the public. And the people have a choice. People have a choice to watch the program. They have a choice to switch, go and look at something that somebody who is saying things that they agree with. That is their choice, right? Everybody has the freedom to express their opinion, and the opinions expressed here are mine, right? So thank you very much, folks. We want to say again, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We want to say, let's continue, folks, to work together for national development. Let's continue to work for national development. Right? Information is power. Yes, Mr. Ramatan. Again, I hope that someday you'll come on and we'll have a lively debate. Don't worry. There's space. There's space for competing opinions on every single platform. So thank you very much, folks. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. As you go, we say to you, you can help us continue to bring the credible and valid information to people. Our PayPal account is the PayPal account is the rushgy@gmail.com, and of course 618-7321 6170244 are our MMG numbers if you want to donate to be a contributor to continued credible and valid information. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. As I always say as I leave, let's work together. Let's continue to work together for national development. My name is Randolph Critchell. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.
One time for the bass, alright. Back in the day we used to live Charlotte Street. Just learn to walk and speak. Me woulda grab a bucket, 2 stick of milk in and gone in the yard and beat. Miss Paul used to suck up she teeth. We didn't kick cause the music sweet. You could hear me little voice in Regent Street, but I'm still in the game. On the stage I'm keeping the flame. Used to jump with Leon and Shane. We used to make enough noise in the neighborhood. Get vexed and call over Dwayne. Tell them music run in me vein. Yesterday